I'm Jeannine Herron. I'm a research neuropsychologist. The first thing I want to do is thank Warren for putting this conference together because it's been one of the most fun conferences I've been to. I wish they were all like this. As a research neuropsychologist, I've been interested in reading most of my life. Starting in 1965 when I started the first Head Start project in the country in Mississippi. We had 5,000 kids around the state of Mississippi.
What city?
All over Mississippi. Can I take this out?
Yep, just slide it off. Keep going straight up.
So I've been concerned with reading since that Head Start project. Little kid was sitting watching some other little kids in one of the community centers, and I said, "What do you want to learn here today?" And she said, "I'm going to learn how to read and write, and then I'm going to go home and teach my daddy." And that got me hooked on literacy and reading. A sobering thing that we really need to consider deeply is that with all these wonderful apps, 1/3 of our 4th graders can't read The Cat in the Hat. Can't read it. Another 1/3 would have a hard time reading it. 25% of our 4th graders are what we call proficient, and 8% are what we call advanced. This is the NAEP national testing. So we have a real crisis with reading, and even if kids can get a book read to them, they're not actually reading. When you think you're highlighting a word, they're not reading it, they're listening to it. So how do we increase that market of readers out there? Our instruction is actually causing non-readers in a lot of cases. And since I'm a neuropsychologist, I've been following the most recent research in neuropsychology. I spent 10 years at UC San Francisco doing brain research with dyslexic kids. And I've gotten 4 small business innovative research grants from the National Institute for Child Health and Human Development. Those are $850,000 grants to develop products that follow the mission of that agency of NIH. And so I created Talking Fingers. The first program was for the Apple IIe, and I don't know if anybody else besides Ann McCormick and I have in this room have developed products that far back. But in any case, read, write, and type, we have kept it up all these years. Thank you. And we've just done a flash version. It's online. It has a voiceover help in 6 different languages, and we're increasing the languages. It was originally licensed to the Learning Company and got swallowed up in the great feeding frenzy. It's still at Houghton Mifflin, but we finally negotiated non-exclusive rights, so that's how we've been able to keep it up. We got another grant to develop a spelling product for 2nd grade, and now I'm really interested in the preschool, kindergarten area, and I have a series of apps that I'm looking for partnerships to create for the preschool market. This is what reading is all about. I'm showing you a slide that represents the brain. It's just a graphic of the brain as if you sliced off the top of your head and looked down on the 2 hemispheres of the brain. Can somebody give me a laser so I can point to this? What's been discovered since I was using EEG to look at brain organization in dyslexics? Thank you. With the new MRI and functional MRI technology, we can actually look at the brain while it's reading and figure out what a dyslexic brain is doing and what a good reader, what a skilled reader's brain is doing. And what happens with a dyslexic brain is that kids are using the right hemisphere instead of the left hemisphere. So imagine for a moment that you're a parent of a kid who's gone to first grade and comes home crying at the middle or end of first grade and says, everybody else can read, but I can't. And so you hear about a research project at a nearby university where they're using fMRI. Your kid is enrolled in this project. And what happens is that the baseline fMRI shows that he, like other dyslexics, is using the right hemisphere. What's the right hemisphere good for? Does anybody know? It's good for pattern recognition, contour analysis, facial recognition, all those things. It's the left hemisphere that's specialized for language, and it's pre-wired at birth. You've got speech and comprehension of speech all set up there to be able to receive language and learn language. But reading is not pre-wired, so the brain is going to process it however it comes in. And the more the instruction depends on doing pattern analysis and contour analysis, like looking at whole words, the more likely it is that a child is going to use the right hemisphere. Now, there is a genetic component with dyslexia. There are other factors. But what happened with this little boy who went to the university and got tested, he got 8 weeks of intensive phonological intervention, went back at the end, had improved his reading, and when they did the fMRI, the activity had actually moved to the left hemisphere. This is all fairly new, so I hope you consider this deeply, because instruction matters. Instruction is actually programming the brain, and instruction can program it in very inefficient ways. So kids who start out by using the right hemisphere are actually developing inefficient pathways. So when they, how do you turn this on?
It's the top button. Top button.
So when they're getting information in here and looking over here in the right hemisphere, it's a long way from what's already pre-wired over here, which is pronouncing cat and understanding cat.
You know, you have to do neuropsychology in 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah, just
okay.
reminding you, it's quite a challenge.
Okay. I think you get the idea.
About 4 seconds.
This is what you want to happen. This is where skilled readers read, over here. Okay. So, in order for them to understand the parts of a word, the segments of a word, the best thing to do to activate the left hemisphere is have them say the word, try to understand what their mouth is doing when they make the other sounds in the word, and then use a letter to represent that sound. So in other words, instruction should shift completely from print to speech to print. It's a hard thing to explain in 8 minutes, and I hope you're getting it. But the iPad is a perfect way to make this happen, because kids can speak, you can have voice recognition, they can write their own words, and that's what they should be doing with this wonderful, wonderful tool. The business of hearing sounds and words is not an auditory thing where this guy is pulling his ears. It's an articulatory thing. See, I can't even articulate. It's speech. It's figuring out what you're doing with your mouth when you make those sounds. And kids cannot be skilled readers unless they know how to segment words and understand the speech-to-print process. Okay, I've written a book called Making Speech Visible. It's circulated around. You can get it on Amazon if you want to learn more about it. But Warren set the stage about Piaget and about Montessori, and this is really what they were talking about. And there's a quote in the book I want to finish with about that Montessori wrote way back when. Thank you. As soon as the child knows some of the vowels and consonants, we place before him the big box containing all the vowels and consonants which he knows, those few. The directress pronounces very clearly a word, for example, mama, and brings out the sound of the very distinctly, repeating the sounds a number of times. Almost always the little one with an impulsive movement seizes an M and places it upon the table. The directress repeats mama. The child selects the A and places it near the then he composes the other syllable very easily. And it goes on to talk about how children construct words. I've developed an alphabet of words. What are the two things that kids need to remember about a letter? They need to know its shape and they need to know its sound. That's way more important than its name or anything else we're trying to teach, like the order of letters in an alphabet. So in this alphabet, each of the letters is embedded in a picture that calls to mind both the sound and the shape of the letter. So the fox calls to mind the sound of and the shape and so on. The tree has a trunk and branches.
They changed the camera.
So can you just quickly, I mean, we're really,
I can't.
we're going to get kicked out of here.
I'm done. I've
We
got
don't have neuropsychologists, linguistic psychologists, what are you again?
neuropsychologists.
Yeah. Here very often. So we're going to play Ask the Neuropsychologist.
Okay, I'll be around afterwards, but I have.
Do you have a question or a comment? Can I just ask you a question? What do you think of the whole concept of the labeling that the Ocean House Media, to tie the two together? Do you have a reaction to Michelle's talk from a neuropsychology perspective?
I think those books are wonderful. I think that any program that's highlighting words for children to analyze as wholes is not really producing a skilled reader. What skilled readers have to have at the very beginning, and I'm talking about the really young kids, is the segmenting into sounds and producing something, constructing a word rather than trying to read someone else's word.
All right, cool.
Okay?
Thank you so much. What you did is making speech visible, and it's around.
Now, some of that's getting
Thank
in,
you.
I know some of that's getting into the school because my kindergartner now, when we're driving, he's in the car, he'll just break out and he'll go, Daddy, say tree. And I'll say tree. And then he'll say, click on the tree.